Hey, my name's Allie. I'm here to discuss and reflect on Negotiating Critical Literacies with Young Children by Vivian Vasquez. After reading chapters 1 and 2, I came to the understanding that critical literacy is a type of informal curriculum, and it's really just based on things that actually matter, what the child is interested in, and things that matter in their personal lives. Vasquez put it in her book that they are issues that are drawn from their central lives. It's really important to remember that this is not an add-on to the curriculum or something extra that really teachers need to teach. It's just another way to teach students of all ages and really get them more engaged in their own learning. After reading the first chapter, I kept trying to visualize myself teaching this way. I couldn't really help but start to get a little anxious, honestly, thinking about all this extra work that I have to do in my classroom. To me, it seems like a very time-consuming approach to teaching, but also a very valuable one. That's not saying I don't like this way of teaching. There would be a lot for me to prepare, and it'd be a lot of change and a tough transition to make in my classroom at this moment. So I was actually able to draw a lot of similarities between my classroom and Vivian Vasquez's classroom. For instance, she mentioned that she teaches junior kindergarten, whereas I'm familiar, most of us are familiar with pre-K. I teach kindergarten. It was really easy to see my current students participating in these, I would call it like an inquiry-based approach to teaching. I could really see my kids kind of engaging in these questions and these conversations. I do, however, had a few hesitations in how much control I could give the kids, because as most teachers, we like to control situations and we like to be in charge, and it just would be a lot of release. And I don't know how comfortable I would be within the first few weeks of teaching critical literacy, but I do definitely see a lot of the points that Vivian Vasquez made to be very valuable in teaching young children. Now, with all that being said, I really love the section where she talks about all the different ways that teachers can connect with each other and share ideas. For example, Twitter and Pinterest I am obsessed with. I mean, that's my two favorite ways to develop new ideas and share my ideas with my colleagues. That's really going to be key for teachers that are teaching critical literacy. It's so new. I also really like the idea of developing study groups so teachers can collaborate on more of a personal level. I couldn't really help but think about offering maybe a professional development course for teachers that really have no idea what critical literacy is and how to actually implement it. I really think it would also be interesting for one teacher, I don't know if this was like a weird idea I thought of, for one teacher in each grade level to teach this way, and you would teach that same group for 5 years and compare them to the different other ways the teachers were teaching. We'd like to see kind of what the data would look like and how effective this critical literacy model really is. Like I mentioned previously, in my classroom, just like Vivian Vasquez's classroom, I was able to draw a lot of similarities. For example, we have class meetings, we have class jobs, and we do have a decent amount of parent involvement, but what really sets her classroom apart from mine is a level of detail involved in each of these similarities. So yes, I do have those class meetings, but my class meetings kind of involve more problem-based things and social-based things, not things that can translate to the actual classroom. So going on with that class meeting discussion, I thought it was really cool how she allowed her students to have emergency class meetings. That really gives the students a sense of ownership of their classroom and a sense that they are important members of their classroom society. I think that was really cool. I also admire how the teacher and the students create classroom jobs together and how they create those jobs that are really essential in running an effective classroom. Having other students teach each other how to properly do the job is a really great way for students to feel like they are valuable members of their classroom community. It gives them that real sense of like they belong to something, and it gives them pride when they're doing their jobs. I also thought it was really important with the level of communication that the parents have with the teacher, because these kids are always listening to what's going on at home, and it's really important that teachers know what's going on within their home life, so when they bring these ideas and they have these interests, it's really easy for the teacher to realize where these connections are drawn. Now, the audit trail, or what she refers to sometimes as the learning wall, is what she says is a site for becoming involved in a child's learning. On this wall, everything is posted, and it's what caused them to learn. I thought it was so cool because it really goes beyond just like the pretty bulletin boards and just showing like work that you've done. It really shows the process. Now, with all that being said, I do think this might be maybe a little too advanced for some students in pre-K and kindergarten. I think I say this just because the kind of learning is so abstract to me as a teacher. As I continued to read these two chapters, some questions definitely rose in my head, and I would like to hear maybe some feedback. I'm not sure how we could do that, but I definitely wrote down some questions that I had. I'm not sure if the remainder of the book we're going to answer these questions, but it might be a good discussion point to have. One, what happens if a child is not interested in a certain topic the rest of the class is interested in? Do they just independently explore this topic, or does their ideas get shut down? Now, I know from personal experience that most students have issues with asking questions, so what if students have trouble formulating the questions? How is the teacher going to facilitate this question asking skill? Again, what if a student comes up with a topic that's borderline inappropriate, or the students' families don't agree with the topic? For example, politics were briefly mentioned, and I know that can be a very controversial topic to talk about in general. Just bringing that into a kindergarten classroom, it's just a very sensitive subject. So how is a teacher with strong beliefs on a certain subject not going to influence the students in a certain way? So as I finished up my reading, I couldn't help but wonder, but how would math be integrated within the critical literacy approach? And eventually, after that was addressed my question, I reached the following paragraphs. Bear with me here. It says, with regards to standards, what I often tell my teacher education students is that they need to know what is being asked of them so that they can create the spaces they need to do work as critical literacies. This also makes it easier for them to find evidence in the work that they are doing to show they have, in fact, either addressed various issues or topics in the mandated documents, or they have surpassed what was being asked. I loved reading that. I appreciate that she really recognizes that, that it's important to know exactly what students are expected to know. Critical literacy really wouldn't work if teachers weren't extremely familiar with the standards and also with their students and the families around them.